Meeting is now being recorded.
Great, thank you. Welcome, good afternoon. For all those who are listening, I'm sorry that we're starting an hour late. Council went long, and I know some of my colleagues have another obligation at 2:30, so I'm going to try to move this meeting as fast as possible. So welcome to the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilmember O'Farrell and Lee. Ms. Kidd, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Rue is absent. Buscaino. O'Farrell.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
And back to Councilmember Buscaino is absent. Three members present. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, go ahead. So, do you want to do the housekeeping reminders and then we'll move into public comment?
Yes. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID 160-073-2397 and then press the number sign. Press the number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to speak.
Great, and we're going to take public comment. Speakers will have 1 minute if they're speaking on one item, 2 minutes if they're speaking on multiple items. In addition, a minute for general public comment on matters related to the jurisdiction of this committee, if they should so choose. And you've provided the number, so let's move to our callers. Do we have public comment calls?
Caller, please state your name and which item you'd like to speak on.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm calling to make a comment about the investigators that go out for the illegal vending. They're not enforcing the rules and regulations that the city council has set forth. And
you're speaking on you have a minute for general public comment. Go ahead. I said since you're not speaking about a particular item, but to general public comment, you have 1 minute. So go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Welcome. No, sorry. I just wanted to clear up. You've got a minute for general public comment. Please, the floor is yours. We'll start your time over starting now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The investigators that they just have out there for the illegal vending, it's been a problem. There's been rules and regulations that have been violated, and some of them are for people that already have permits. And the ones that I'm more concerned about are the residential areas, because these people are in your front yard. Those need to be enforced, and somebody needs to tell the general manager or somebody to really, at least to have a communication with us to do something about it, not to ignore us, not to constantly just basically ignore us. And the fact that they keep saying that they don't have to show their permits when they're established in an area, they have to show their permits. It says it right there in the rules and regulations. And we just need to start really doing something about it. I feel like if we hired somebody to do something, it should be done. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We're not allowed to respond back and forth on items not on the agenda, but we hear your comment and appreciate it. Thank you. Next caller.
Caller, please state your name and which item you would like to speak on. Caller with the last digits 9917. Please state your name and what item you would like to speak on. Again, caller with the last digits 9917.
Hi, this is general public comment.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah. So with regard to gang reduction, since this is the purview of the city, how do you guys work on getting reduction in LAPD? They have the same issues that the sheriff's department does, and I don't see why that would be something that would be under your purview as far as in gang reduction in the city. Even though it's part of the Public Works Council for some reason, doesn't make any fucking sense. I like to also point out that now you guys have the fiscal emergency instead of just taking them away from the police department. You guys are fucking over all the city employees who work in public works, and you guys are fucking over any sort of that can be made to the city. Like talking about streets in his district being resurfaced. I guess that's like a memorial to the last time that shit's ever getting done because all you guys need in the city are cops. So just as like I said earlier, burn in hell, eat shit, and die.
Great. Thank you, caller. We have any additional callers? Next caller.
Caller, please state your name and which item you would like to speak on. Caller with the last digits 1403, please state your name and what item you would like to speak on. Again, caller 1403, please state your name and what item you would like to speak on. Caller, you're on the line. Caller is not responsive and will be removed from the meeting.
Are there additional callers?
That concludes public comment.
Okay. So, colleagues, at this time I'd like to clarify the recommendation for item 6 and take up items 3 through 8 on consent unless there's an objection. And for item 6, I'm going to recommend that we approve the motion dated February 28, 2020, and receive and file the motion dated March 27, 2020. Seeing or hearing no objections to that, that will be the order. If you would, Ms. Kidd, if you would call the roll for that, for those consent items.
Calling the roll for items 3 through 8. Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Rue is absent. Buscaino is also absent. O'Farrell.
Aye.
And Lee.
Aye.
3 votes. These items are approved.
Great, thank you.
Goodbye.
We have a little bit of time. I'm going to try to. Got to get members out by 2:30 for their next meeting. So, but we can go. I think we can do a little bit of time on 1 and 2. So let's read number 1 into the record.
Item number 1 is a City Administrative Officer report relative to the approval of funding from the Innovation Fund for the Bureau of Sanitation Ozone Clean Alternative Disinfectant Study Pilot.
And Ms. Swan, we're happy to see you, and if you could start with a brief overview of the item, and I know there will be comments additionally from John Ball and Rowena Lowe.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me this afternoon. Bianca Swan, Project Coordinator for the Innovation and Performance Commission. The Innovation and Performance Commission recommends $90,000 for the Bureau of Sanitation's Ozone Clean Alternative Disinfectant Study. Through this pilot, sanitation would like to improve the health and safety of public spaces by testing the efficiency of using ozone water for disinfectant purposes to potentially replace the current process, which includes chlorine bleach treatments, which can pose harm to the environment and watershed. There are members of the Bureau of Sanitation on this call that will provide an additional overview and answer any questions you guys might have, briefly, of course. Rowena or John, if you're available.
Hi, this is John Ball, and we had a presentation. I think we were told to not provide that. Is that correct?
I've emailed it to the council member's office to be added to the city clerk's database, so they have it.
So it's part of the record,
Okay.
but given the timing, just we won't go through the presentation.
Yeah. Got it. Well, just to give you a background, LA Sanitation is responsible for cleanups all across the city involving biohazardous waste. And it turns out there's about 15,000 cleanups each year that require some kind of attention in this regard. And generally speaking, anytime there's a biohazardous waste, we need to disinfect that site after it's been cleaned up. And really, what this study is getting at is to see if we can replace our current disinfectant, which is bleach, with ozone. And there's a company that we're partnering with called Ozone Clean Technologies. They have a proprietary way of injecting ozone into a pressure washing system, and it has several potential benefits over bleach. Just to name a few, let me get cut up here. Well, bleach, we know bleach is effective at killing things, but it also has potential environmental impacts just from the residues and the chlorine residuals that remain. Ozone, on the other hand, degrades into oxygen, which, there's no environmental contamination associated with that. Ozone is proven to be effective in killing bacteria and viral pathogens in a laboratory setting. So this pilot study would be to take that knowledge and apply it to a field setting where we do our cleanup operations through LA Sanitation. Basically, we want to find out if ozone in the field setting is as effective as bleach. And this is an important thing to verify before adopting any kind of technology like this. We know bleach is pretty effective. This pilot study would document that as well. But, there's room for improvements there just in terms of mitigating potential environmental impacts. And so that's what this money would go to fund that pilot study. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Great.
I'd be happy to ask it and answer any questions.
Great. Ms. Lyle, do you want to add anything to that? Maybe she can't hear me. Okay. Just quickly, is the innovation here just the environmental issue, or is there also a cost differential? Is it much cheaper, or is it more expensive?
Yeah, that's something we would look at in our pilot study and the reports that are generated from that. So I think, generally speaking, ozone can be generated on site, but there's an initial investment in getting that equipment. Bleach is something you have to keep purchasing over time. So I think we need to do a kind of a detailed cost assessment, and that's part of the scope of our pilot study.
Okay, and when do you expect to conclude the study and assess the affordability and the benefits?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's detailed in the report. We've done some preliminary testing. I think we can wrap things up, I would say, within 6 months. If there's anyone else on the call that can verify that, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, this is Mosto Jerry, Assistant Director at LA San. We're still working with the Ozone Clean Technologies, and we're kind of revising this pilot study. There's a little bit of misunderstanding and clarifications that needed to be made. So I think we're on the same page now. And so we need to go ahead and once we both parties agree, then we'll go ahead and proceed. And I think probably within about 2 or 3 weeks, we should have the field study completed, and then we'll have to analyze the data and go ahead and write the report. So I would think a month and a half, maybe 2 months, we should have the report out.
Okay, great. Colleagues, any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I would move that we approve this item. Seeing no objection, I guess we have to take a roll call because we're virtual. So, Ms. Kidd, if you would call the roll.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Calling the roll for item number 1, Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
3 votes, this item passes.
Great. That moves us to our last item, item number 2. Ms. Kidd, if you'd read that one into the record.
Item number 2 is a City Administrative Officer report relative to funding from the Innovation Fund for the Modernizing Housing Development Operations to Streamline, Expedite, and Increase Affordable Housing Development Project.
Great. And I see we have Douglas Swagger from and Sean Spear from HCID here. So if the floor is yours, if you want to give us a brief presentation. And Ms. Swan as well, of course.
I'll just go real quick before they hop on. So the Innovation Performance Commission recommends $180,000 for the Modernizing Housing Development Operations to streamline, expedite, and increase affordable housing development project. Through this pilot, HCID intends to develop a comprehensive, customer-focused, and web-based citywide central housing development management system. The members of HCID can take over from here to provide a brief overview and answer any questions you guys have.
Okay, good afternoon, council members. My name is Doug Swagger, and I work with HCID. The current system we have, we call it the Housing Information Management System, or HIMSS for short, was developed 15 to 17 years ago to track our affordable housing lending and management of projects. And it was developed at a time when we had significantly less diverse programs than we have now. And so the goal of this is to replace that system that will improve our tracking of projects. It will improve our ability to report out on the affordable housing that we finance. And we expect it's just going to be a much more transparent system, and it's going to help us to, develop new programs that will be funded through the linkage fee and other resources that we have. In preparation for this, in 2019, we released a request for information and got responses from about 8 different software providers or developers. They range from systems that are already in place and used in housing finance agencies to fund affordable housing to software developers that will come in-house and analyze our business practices and create something specific for the department. And so the next step will be to get our own what each section in the department needs from this system, so that we can then educate a request for qualifications to bring in organizations. And I'll stop there to answer questions.
Okay, well, tell me about, it's so important, obviously, we need to streamline the cost of our housing. And one of the big costs is all the development costs, which is what I'm hoping this will help cut those costs down, or the original cost of putting it all together. But I'm generally very skeptical on innovation fund items of just paying for upgrades to systems, because everybody has systems that need to be upgraded, and that's really a budget ask, not an innovation ask. So what makes this different and innovative, and not just an upgrade of a system?
It is an upgrade of the system that we'll be able to use for things to track cost, and so that we can identify where costs are increasing and sort of tailor our responses to that. It's innovative in that it's going to be public facing, because we get so many requests for information about the housing developments and the affordable housing that it's going to enable people, your staffs, the public, the press to access this information, universities to access this information, to help us plan as a department in a city, where to move with the affordable housing.
And I just wanted to add on behalf of the Innovation and Performance Commission, they really were excited about this idea because they felt that it had a huge opportunity to save the city money as well as increase the efficiency within the department. So I just wanted to make sure that I spoke for them about this item.
Well, no, I appreciate that because it is a little outside of our normal practice of, we generally we just don't fund upgrades of systems because that's the typical budget process. It's not, we don't want to be a substitute for the budget. We're a tiny fund, and we really are trying to focus on innovation. But as Ms. Swan is saying, I mean, we are so desperate for innovation in these housing projects because their costs are just ridiculous right now. I mean, I've got one in my district that now is topping $700,000 for a unit, and how do we expect the public or anyone to accept that, and how do we expect to make that scalable to actually deal with homelessness? So, in as much as this is something that will make this process much faster, and time is money, especially on the early end of these housing projects, my hope is that that's what's going to create the innovation, and that out of this system will grow ways to lower the cost of housing so that we're not faced with these embarrassing and sort of ridiculously unfeasible costs for permanent supportive housing. Colleagues, any comments or questions? Seeing none. And then just, you were mentioning last thing, you were mentioning the public-facing data that'll make it more transparent, because that's also really important for the public because there's a lot of misunderstanding about these costs. How is that going to work, and what sort of data is actually going to be out there?
Well, right now, we do extensive reporting publicly for the HHH, and it's up on our website. And we've had to sort of separate that and do it by itself because it's so hard to access all, the old data. And so this will enable us to do that type of extensive reporting and make the information available for all of our stuff rather than have to start, whenever we start a new program.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm going to recommend that we do approve this item, and looking to see if there's any objections. Seeing none, let's open up the roll.
Taking the roll to approve item number 2, Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Rue is absent. Buscaino is absent. O'Farrell.
Aye.
And Lee.
Aye.
3 votes. This item is approved.
Great, and that concludes all the business, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, as promised, members who need to be at 2:30, you are. We have 5 minutes to spare to get yourself a snack or something. And thank you very much. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.